I have fallen out a bit with TNA. I started watching maybe about 2 or 3 years ago, and indeed I was a very avid watcher until the Hogan Bischoff thing started, and that was all pretty much rubbish to me. And this week I felt like that was a different story. We had Fortune in the ring along with They. Now of course They have finally been revealed.
Yeah, I think they are good. That's probably how I'd sum the whole thing up. Bound for Glory was, from what I saw of it, good. Very good actually. And from what I did see of it, who knows, probably was good too. But they was a good end, I think. At first I was a bit right, well, I mean, they've pretty much been here all the time, so for them to come in doesn't really make much sense. Change probably would have been a better name for Day, but yeah, at the end of the day, it's good things, and I think there's a fresh kind of vibe off Impact on Thursday, and I think it's a nice little direction. Seems Heyman is going to come on board. It's probably the next best thing they could have done.
Yeah, from the moment that the Impact show started, immediately it grabbed my attention. It was the arrival of Hogan and Bischoff, immediately speaking volumes with their expressions. They were heels, and we could see that immediately. It wasn't a case like when they first arrived that we weren't sure. One minute they were making decisions that favoured baby faces, and the next minute they were doing things that were hindering baby faces. So it was hard to know exactly where their colours were nailed. Were they heel, were they face? It's something I asked about, and indeed I think this was good because they were full heel. No apologies about it. We're just going to be exactly almost like we were in WCW when the NWO angle kicked off, and I really felt the passion and power in the Bischoff promo. I didn't feel like he'd been like that for a few weeks, and this time it's really meant something. And of course all those extra guys then that were brought out to the ring. We had Flair, all the hopeful TNA guys like Beer Money and Douglas Williams, joined by Day, Jeff Jarrett, Hogan, Eric Bischoff, and of course Jeff Hardy as well. Abyss also being revealed as yet again one of Hogan's closest friends in there.
Yeah, funny how he always lands on his feet, Abyss. Yeah, I mean he's just there. I don't know if it's just the constant need to put him somewhere, but he always seems to be there, and now he's there with Day, and I'm sure he's happy, but at least we have the others to help us out. But yeah, I think some details that kind of messed up. I think a bit more of a sell on Hardy being heel. Hardy is heel now. Would have made it just that much better. I think for him coming down to the ring with the belt the way he did was good. I think when he marked out for somebody who was marking out for him in the crowd with the kind of a thumbs up salute, I think it was those British fans at ringside, probably not the best of ideas, but and even with the promo, I think he could have turned it up tenfold to say, I am heel now, heel, I'm not a babyface anymore, I shouldn't be pointing to the fans and giving thumbs up, and I need to transition because it's a new beginning. But I don't think Jeff got the memo on that one, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's going to be a hard stretch for Jeff to change from babyface to heel. Of course, they are working the angle that fans are down on him, perhaps sort of hinting at the arrest and, of course, the court case, apparently still unresolved. And indeed, I think fans, in a lot of cases, who did know about it, Did they start to feel he was less of a good performer? I'm not really sure they did, but it's certainly a good way to say this is why he's heel. We can say that he's lost the fan support because of all the recent legal troubles, but I liked what I saw, and I haven't liked what I saw on TNA for so long that it really was a bit of a mark-out moment. Now, of course, Flair cutting a promo on Hogan, the arrival of Kevin Nash and Sting, and everybody throughout the whole show following this segment really turned it up so many notches, and it was certainly a faith restorer, something that is going to make me tune in next week. I'm not sure what it was. I've said before I'd like to see the young guys pushed and that these legends are perhaps given too much time. Wow, I mean, this was the way to use them. Put them all in there, and indeed Dixie Carter as well, getting very, very loud backstage with the reaction style promo, and she even slapped Bischoff, and there was even a use of the word shit. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah, I mean, the difference I think now between where the two companies are kind of going, between WWE and TNA, I mean, in that Impact show was probably no more than 10 minutes of wrestling between the last match and even I wouldn't even call the Tara Madison Rain thing a match, but for us to really be high on it because of that is that a good thing or a bad thing? I don't know. If it's too back in the Attitude Era ish, and maybe that's what we like. But then again, when we do watch the wrestling matches, do we really watch the wrestling matches, or do we thrive on the over exaggerated hard sell of Dixie throughout the show? But one thing I am afraid of, and that is already, I felt a little bit like it was the Bischoff show. I mean, how many times did he appear in the 2 hours?
That's right, it did go back to that. Thinking about it, he was on there a lot. In fact, in so many of the scenes that I lost count, and I complained about that before, so why that didn't stick out to me, I'm not sure. But yeah, you don't want to put him on there too much. Let him cut his promo at the beginning, maybe once more in a reaction segment, and that's enough. You don't want to oversaturate the program with him. They certainly haven't done that with Hogan, and I mean, he's the top star. He's been off TV, and even when he was active and not injured, he was only in backstage segments for quite a while, and of course he hasn't really done too much in the way of wrestling. So yeah, I don't know what he's going to be doing in this. As you say, maybe doing a lot of talking.
Yeah, he does it well. He does it well, I will say. But yeah, definitely give a bit of a buzz starting off with all those old schoolers. For a fan, or for fans who watched the product back in the day, especially if you're a WCW fan, having all those guys like Nash and Sting and Jarrett and Hogan and Bischoff and Flair and the whole lot. I'm sure that was a kind of a cool moment, and it definitely set the tone for the rest of Impact, setting off a whole series of crazy shit. And yeah, maybe more of this stuff might be the way forward.
I enjoyed seeing Hogan and Dixie on screen together. Of course, Hogan telling her, "Let me tell you something," which was a long time coming. I know it's probably been said before, but I hadn't heard it, and when I heard it this time, again, this angle just started to lift off the ground for me. And why I like this one above Fortune versus EV 2.0, I'm not sure, but I think I always mark for the old school legends. And it always works when they throw lots of them in there at once. It's sort of, it can't fail. I mean, you have the names like Flair, Sting, Hogan, Nash, and of course new stars like Jeff Hardy. It really felt like they were putting something together that Vince may even be jealous of.
Yeah, I think Vince should be getting a little bit worried, because they, it works, and I think people were genuinely surprised that Hardy was the one at Bound for Glory that would kind of be the talk of the whole show, really, and just goes to show how much kind of star power he has. or maybe they're just scraping the barrel at the end of the day, trying to get that last bit out of what's left before Hogan and Bischoff run for their lives.
Exactly, and that is what I thought, is that this could very well be the end game. This could be the leading out of Hogan and Bischoff. It seems like it was almost like, let's save this bit till the very, very end. And indeed the end, whether it's a year or two ahead, we will use this when we're about to go. And indeed they bring that best stuff out and send him away in a blaze of glory. Now maybe it might be something where Hogan disappears and Bischoff hangs around. Now of course Bischoff was there in WCW before Hogan was. Certainly he didn't really take off character wise, I think, till NWO, but if he was there on his own, it wouldn't be such a bad thing. I mean, being bogged down with Hogan at times is probably not great, because Bischoff can't get Hogan any more over. He also can't be in his corner because Hogan doesn't wrestle. So I'm not too sure what Hogan still brings to this. I think you're right though that it could be the end. It could be curtains for those angles, and maybe this is the last attempt at doing something with Hogan. Now Madison Rayne had a very difficult job to follow up that almost 20-minute segment with all those guys in the ring shooting, and indeed just like everybody else that was to follow on this past Thursday's TNA Impact, Madison Rayne getting that promo and doing it very, very well, putting it over, aggressive, and indeed I wasn't expecting it. Of course Tara came out and you had a bit of a swap over with the belts, and then indeed Mickie James coming out shooting, saying that at some point she was going to be involved. Now of course Mickie James, a new member of the TNA roster. What do you think? Do you think she can do a lot? Do you think it will be interesting to have her there, or would you prefer in the E?
I think she was kind of better off in the E, to be honest. I don't see. I don't know, that the knockouts, they kind of drop the ball with the newbies, don't they? They bring in good workers and good talent, and then a week later they're gone, and then you've had some horror stories from the knockouts that have had success but are no longer with the company. So for Mickie James, I think it's a desperate last attempt for her. For TNA, it's another WWE star with a brand, and for business, I don't think it's going to really change the face of wrestling.
I don't think WWE value Mickie James as much as maybe a Trish Stratus. They always want Trish Stratus back. I feel like if she wanted to come back tomorrow, she probably could. I don't think that's the same with Mickie, and I feel like somebody who carried the women's division for so many years as champion, that it's a strange thing, but perhaps it's more political backstage than we realise. Maybe it's a case of actual relations rather than the want, and perhaps Trish and others are more valued because they've got bigger gimmicks and they're more well known.
Yeah, I think the other side of the coin, I think she had a run with TNA before WWE.
That's right, yes.
So you forget about these things, but when she was in her original TNA run, I don't know how many I'm sure a lot of the fans would still remember from those days, but I think she'd always be more of a WWE head, I suppose, because she really just made her name with the E as opposed to the A.
Let's see what happens with Mickie. I think definitely though that women's belt is going to make its way to her fairly soon. Maybe even next pay-per-view. I think they'll want to have that top female star in there while they're kind of rebooting the rest of Impact. It feels like that. This week was a step above, and I think even the running order and what happened, it just was so well placed, and they kept so many A-game features and storylines. I think like the Jarrett shooting on Angle. Now I mean, Jarrett and Angle with that history, of course Jarrett has married Kurt's ex-wife, and indeed the crowd let Jarrett know this week that indeed what he did, well, they called it, and they called it as they saw it. But yeah, that's another thing we saw right back when Jarrett came back, just a short locker room vignette, but to see this played out fully in the ring, it really felt like shoot territory. It felt like those guys meant it.